I would have cried so bad, so hard, snot,
Mm-mm.
tears everywhere.
Hey everyone, so I am back with another video, and this time we are doing a full set. So the first thing I'm doing is I'm going in with this cuticle pusher and I'm just pushing back her cuticles. Yeah, but I was gonna text her and be like,
Nelly, you know what?
we didn't set no appointment.
It would have been on Nelly. I would have been done cried. I would have probably ran in front of a car or something. Or something.
So where are y'all going?
Biloxi,
Oh,
Florida,
okay.
and New Orleans.
Oh, okay.
Nelly,
Y'all taking a whole
right.
road trip.
Now see, it's like from we're staying in Biloxi, and it's
Uh-huh.
like Florida and New Orleans are like an hour or so
Oh, okay,
away.
okay.
So yeah, like I'm just really looking forward to New Orleans. I'm just
Yeah.
gonna get drunk, walk on Bourbon Street, see all the fine men, and enjoy life.
Yeah. Okay, so now I'm gonna go in with a, what is this? A sanding band. It's a 180 sanding band, and I'm just removing the shine from the natural nail. And remember, when you're doing this, you're not filing to make the nail thinner. You're just filing to get rid of the shiny layer. And I'm still using this dust collector that they sent me. Honestly, it doesn't work because there's still dust everywhere, and all of the dust collectors that I've had do the same thing. Like, they suck it down, but they like blow it everywhere else. So the only reason why I keep them is because they do keep the dust out of my face, but it's still all over the table. And I just posted something about my website being down. It is still down. I'll keep you guys updated. I just haven't time to restock, so I'm working on it, but I just been busy. And who all is going with y'all?
Our my family, my mama's side.
Oh, okay, okay.
Mm-hmm. We get to go on the beach and soak up some sun.
Hmm.
I want to jet ski, but I'm like, if I fall in the water and I drown, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm like, well, my aunt got
Uh-uh.
that the water is not really that high.
Well, whenever this last time I was gone, we stopped by Virginia Beach, and it was cold. The water was so cold, and then they had like the waves are like freaking high, so you
Oh,
couldn't even go in that deep, which I never get in, real deep anyways.
mm-hmm.
But they weren't letting people go in like above your knees.
What? No. And see, I'm all but so tall, and if
Mhm.
I drown,
Cause even like if you just stand like at the at the edge,
mm-hmm.
you can still feel it like pulling you in. That's how like
Oh,
high tide or
mm-hmm.
whatever it's called.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes, I am gonna save the video at the end. So now I'm just going back. I trimmed the nails a little bit and I'm just shaping them up.
And then we seen the seafood place. The, the shrimp, the
Uh-huh.
crab legs look so good. And I ain't no crab legs in a while. Looking forward to some crab legs.
Okay, so now I'm gonna go in and apply my nail tips. I am using the natural nail tips. And then for my glue, I'm using the KDS glue. And both of these will be on my website once I restock. So remember, when you're applying the nail tips, if one's too small and the other one's too big, Always go with the bigger one and just file the sides down. So as you can see, that one's too small. There's still a little bit of her nail hanging off. So then I'm going to move up to the next size. And then that one's touching her skin a little bit. So I'm going to just gently file it down a little bit. And then that's perfect. Then I just apply the glue on the tip and glue it down. And then just hold it down for a couple of seconds. And this KDS glue dries really fast, so I don't have to hold it down for too long. Have you done all your shopping yet?
Nailing, my bag was packed last Saturday.
Oh, Lord.
My bag was packed
And you
last
say y'all leave when?
Thursday morning.
Oh, okay, okay.
I think like around 4, 6, or 5 or something like that.
Mm. Who's driving?
Reese.
Oh,
Reese is
Lord.
right. Little we probably Saturday.
Mm-mm.
But
You said last time he didn't do too bad, though.
Yeah, no, he didn't do too bad. Hopefully he won't do too bad this time either. I mean, he was keeping it. He was keeping it.
Are y'all just driving one car? Or?
Yeah, we're driving the truck, yeah.
Oh, okay.
And then Gary, my other brother, he gonna help me grow too, but let's see how that works.
Mm-mm. Is Gary the oldest one?
The oldest boy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah. Yeah, but he drives slow as hell too.
Oh, Lord.
He drives slow too. But he didn't, I don't know. Who the hell my kid, he drives slow.
How's work been?
No. It's been interesting. Yesterday, a woman called in
Mm-hmm.
because she was like, "Oh, my services is cut off."
Oh, from the storm?
Mm-mm.
Oh.
You know, they up in Pennsylvania.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. I
Yeah.
thought you meant like somebody called in asking somebody called in to work or something.
No. The lady, she was like, "My services been cut off." And I was like, well, can I have your account number? So I'm looking at her account. It says her service is not cut off. I'm like, well, ma'am, your services are not cut off. And she was like, yes there is, because my stove won't light. And I was like, well, maybe it's a stove.
Uh-huh.
She was like, no, because this brand new stove.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, red flag right here. She was like, I seen a man when they jumped the fence to cut my gas off. I said, they jumped the fence to cut your gas off? And she was like, yeah. And I'm like, well, when was this? Now, this woman told me back in November of 2016.
Oh, Lord.
I'm like, lady, what? And you just now calling to report this? But she been paying on her bills
Uh-huh.
since then.
Uh-huh.
And she only had a balance on her account for like $10 and some change.
Wow.
Right. She said her service was on. I said, lady. And I'm like, first, we not gonna come to your house and jump your fence, first of all. And she was like, well, somebody came and they had jumped my fence and cut my gas off. I said, well, ma'am, listen, let me get you transferred, because she's sounding a little off.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, well, maybe somebody, can help her better than I can, because I ain't know what to tell her. I was telling her that her services are still on, been connected for the longest. And she was like, no, I know what I'm talking about. I live at the house. Do you live here? No, ma'am, I
Oh,
don't.
Lord.
I'm just trying to tell you, your services ain't cut off.
Hold on. How long do you want them?
Cut the tip off. A little bit more. Okay. I was like, lady, we can. And she yelling, talking about, I don't stay at the house. Of course I don't. And she was getting frustrated.
And if you ain't had no gas for that long, I don't want to stay at your house.
Right. That was funny though. Okay, ma'am, And then she was like, well, give me transfer to somebody that know how to do their job. Oh, ma'am, okay. Okay, whatever you say. And then she called back in and was like, oh, she called me Adriana. She was like, she was so nice to me, lady. Okay. I think you done cussed me out, told me I don't know how to do my job.
Oh, Lord.
Okay, but that's cool though. Thank you for the good review. The compliment.
Okay, so now you do want coffin, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're doing the coffin. So I'm using my straight edge nail clipper and I'm just cutting the sides off. That way it just saves me time when I'm actually shaping. And these I get from my local nail supply store, but I found a link to some on eBay, so I'll leave that in the description once I save the video. Okay, so now I'm going to go in with my nail file, which I'm using my 100-100 nail file, and we're just going to shape them. So remember, when you're filing, you start from the side of the nail and file inwards towards the tip and just alternate from side to side. And then your tip, you want to make sure you file it at a 90 degrees angle to make sure that it's nice and straight. You also want to make sure you blank the nail, and I'm just doing this by following where the natural nail and the nail tip meets, like right at the smile line, and that's just to make it look a little bit more natural. So same thing for the other hand. Make sure that you start from the side and then file inwards towards your tip and just alternate from side to side. You don't want to file too much on one side because then that's how you get your nails crooked if you file too much on one side and not the other. So try to do like the same amount of files on each side. And then also just look at your nail after you're done to make sure that it's even, or if you have to go back and file a little bit more, then that's fine.
I hate when other people think that they just cute.
Oh, Lord.
You know, take a step back. Yeah.
Okay, so after they're all shaped and blended, I'm just going to dust them off. You do want to make sure that you dust them off before you apply your acrylic and even your primer too. So for my primer, I'm using my OPI Bondex, and you can use whatever primer comes with your acrylic system. As you guys know, the only reason why I use the OPI one is because I have a lot of it. So okay, so for my acrylic, I'm going to be using my Mia Secret acrylic system, as always. And for my brush, I'll be using my Alpha brush in the number 9. So that's my Alpha brush in a number 9, and it is an oval shape. So I dip my brush in and clean it off. Then I'm going to dip it in, and before I take it out, you want to wipe it off to where it's wet but not soaking. And then we dip it into our powder, get a nice bead. I place it right in the middle where the natural nail and the tip meets. I pat it down, and then I gently brush it down towards the tip. When you're brushing, be sure not to brush too hard because you still want most of that product to stay right in the middle so you can start building your apex. And when you're doing this, just look at your nail from different sides, and if there's a little bump or lump, just go back and brush it out. I'm going to go back and do another layer or another bead right below that one brushing it down towards the tip as well. Okay, so my next bead, which is my third bead, I'm going to place it right behind the first one, which is closer to the cuticle area. Set it down and pat it into place, and then I'm going to start brushing the tip as well. And remember to always clean your cuticle area. If acrylic starts running down towards the cuticle, make sure you go ahead and clean that up as soon as you can. Because at the minute it gets hard, it's going to be impossible to take it off, and it will cause lifting. Okay, and then my fourth bead will be right in between those two, and this is what's going to build our apex. You want to make sure that you don't have just a flat nail. You want to have a nice stress area, because if you're to break a nail, this is where your nail gets its strength from. So this is what it looks like from the side. As you can see, we have that stress area right there, so it's thicker right there, and then it gets thinner as it goes down towards the tip. And then that's the tip, so it's not too thick and it's not too thin. Once again, we dip our brush into the liquid, wipe it off, dip it into the powder, get a nice size bead, place it right in the middle, pat it down, and then start brushing it down towards the tip. Once again, be sure to not brush too hard, because you still want that product to stay right there where you put it. You just want your nail tip to get its thickness. And then as you can see, I wipe my brush off a lot. I know a lot of people always ask, how do I keep my brush clean? You do want to make sure that you're constantly wiping your brush off as you work. I'm applying another bead right below that one, brushing it down towards the tip as well. My third bead will go closer to that cuticle area. And remember not to get big balls of acrylic. Just go in with the product that you need. Don't try to use one big bead, because then it's going to be all over the cuticle area. I'm using the Mia's Secret acrylic system. I get this one from eBay, and I always leave the link in the description. And this is in the color pink, which is like a almost clear, but it's like a translucent pink. And I'm going to do my last bead right in the middle. So remember, you don't have to stick to the 4-ball method. This is just what works for me. But sometimes if your first bead is big enough, then you might just have to add maybe one more bead or 2 more beads. You don't have to always use the 4-ball method. And I do want to mention that I still have the promo code for the Alpha brushes. So I'll leave that link in the description once I'm done. I've been using the Alpha brushes for a while now, and I haven't had any issues at all. My acrylic go on really, really good, and I just really like them.
It's so satisfying watching you do nails, and you don't know what they do.
Remember to always go back and clean around that cuticle area, because if not, that will cause lifting. And do it as soon as you see the acrylic running towards the skin, because once it's dry, it will be really hard to take it off. Now, like I said, look at your nail from different angles. Like, I just turned my nail up and I can tell that the tip is still pretty thin, so I'm going to apply a bead closer to that tip, brushing it down. If you're applying your acrylic correctly, and if you're prepping the nail correctly and you're still getting lifting, most likely you're not filing around that cuticle area really good when you file after you apply your acrylic, because that really has a lot to do with it. You want to make sure that you seal really good back there, because if not, any little gap that you have, water will get under there, and that's what causes your nail to lift. And I know whenever you're using a hand file, for me, I know it's harder to get really close to that cuticle area. That's why I always use a nail drill. Okay. So same thing for the other hand. And then I also want to mention, I know people ask me, how do I keep my brush so flat? So this is how my brushes come. Like I said, this is an oval shaped brush. I mean, whenever I first get a new one, I don't just do anything to it. I actually just dip it into brush cleaner, because I know they usually have some type of product that keeps it together at first. So I just let that soak off, and then after that, I just start using it. Now, you do want to make sure that when you're using it, you are using, or that it's facing up, which is this part. This is the up part, and it looks like this. If I was using it to the side, your brush would look more like this. So make sure you use it where the name is, and that's where it's flat, if that makes sense. So you want the alpha brush, or the alpha, the name of the brush to face you. If your brush doesn't have a name on it, I mean, you can just, I mean, if I was to use my brush like this, I would know that that's not the right way, because of the way that it looks like it's not even flat. And then if I was to turn it this way, that's when it turns flat. So that's how I would know that that's the way it's supposed to be. Now, I don't know if all brushes are like that, but I know that these alpha brushes do that. But even, I think, no, because I've used the OPI ones and the Tammy Taylor ones, and they all are like that. Yeah, so I don't pinch my brushes or anything. This is just how they come. But I think when they pinch them, that's when they make them flat.
Yeah, I think I'm finna get sugar, baby. He said all the right stuff now.
Oh, Lord.
Man, he got the work in the pockets.
Remember that when you're working, you're cleaning your brush off a lot. And I'm going to show y'all all the product that I'm wiping off the nails. So if you wasn't wiping your like if I wasn't wiping my brush off every time I'm doing a nail, like all that acrylic would be stuck on my brush. So same thing, place that bead right in the middle where the natural nail and the tip meets. Pat it down, brush it down towards the tip. And when you're brushing, just make sure you feather it. You don't want to just brush too hard because you don't want to brush that all that acrylic off the nail. Second bead will be right below that one. Okay, so I'm going to add a little bit more of my liquid because I ran out. And usually it only takes one dapping dish to do a full set. But when they're a little bit longer, it might take like a dapping dish and a half. And see, that's all the product that I've wiped off the nails. So that's why it's really important to clean your brush constantly. Because if not, all that product will be stuck in your brush. And also, I do want to mention that not too long ago, somebody asked me or she was telling me that she was starting to do nails and she was wondering if she should focus on the nail art or the acrylic application. And if you are a beginner, you want to make sure that you perfect your acrylic application at first, because it doesn't matter if you have the most beautiful nail art, but if the nails don't stay on, then there's no point of having good nail art, and then the nails are going to fall off the next day. So make sure that you get your acrylic application down packed, and then worry about your nail art. Or I guess do the same for both. I mean, do both at the same time, really. Just focus on everything. And I know I seen somebody made a comment asking if the Mia Secret acrylic dries pretty fast. Um, so as you guys know, the way to know if the acrylic is dry, if it makes a clicking noise. So like all of these are already completely dry. This is the one I just did. So this one's not all the way, or this is the one I did before the thumb. So this one's not all the way dry, but the other ones are. So it dries probably within a couple of minutes. So I'm done with the acrylic, so I'm going to go ahead and put that up. And then, as you guys know, to clean my brush off, there is a little bit of acrylic stuck in it, even though I wiped it off really good. So I always let my brush sit in a dapping dish with acetone for about 10 minutes, or you could also use brush cleaner. I know a lot of people don't like to use acetone, but I ran out of my brush cleaner. So now we're going to go back and reshape the nails. And yes, you do have to go back and reshape the nails every time, because after you apply the acrylic, it does take away from your shape a little bit. So you just have. So when we're redefining the shape, we're basically doing the same thing we were when we first shaped the nails, but it's not a lot of work, because we're literally just following just a few times to make sure that we get that perfect shape that we want. Yes, the drill that I'm using is my Macari drill, and I haven't had any issues with it at all. I actually feel like this is the best one that I've had so far. I do have a video on it, so you guys can go check it out. Okay, so now I'm gonna go back in with my fine drill bit, and we're gonna file around the cuticle area and then the whole nail. So as you guys can see, I mean, they're pretty smooth. I don't have any bumps or lumps on any of the nails. So that's why whenever I start filing, I focus on that cuticle area mainly to prevent any lifting. So always start from one side of the nail, which is on this side, and work your way around to the other. And remember to do this until you're able to see where the natural nail is, or where the cuticle is, where their natural nail is, and where the acrylics start. That way you know that the acrylic is not on the skin and you won't have any lifting. And then the rest of the nail I just file with the belly of the drill bit, which is the middle part, and then I use the tip of the drill bit to file around the cuticle area. So as you can see there, you're able to see the cuticle, the natural nail, and the acrylic. So we're going to do the same thing for all the nails. Once again, this is a fine drill bit. And as you can see, I hold their finger with my pinky. That way I get some stability. I know I've seen people falling like this and you really don't have any stability at all. And you're kind of like, you're really not even falling much off if you're falling like that. So that's why I hold their finger with my, or I hold it with this hand and then I put my pinky on their finger to make sure that I get the stability that I need. I'm located. I know I've had a lot of people emailing me lately asking me if I'm in Chicago, asking what part of Florida I'm in, asking if I'm in, I don't know, just people just think I'm all over. But I am in Little O, Arkansas. So whenever you are, if you are a beginner and you don't have a hand file, you would really do the same thing. You would focus on that cuticle area first, and then you look at your nail from different angles. And if you have any bumps or lumps, then just file the rest of the nail. But like I said, I don't really have any bumps or lumps, so I focus on that cuticle area first, and then I file the rest of the nail just to make sure that it's nice and smooth. The only drill bits that I use is my quartz drill bit, which I use that to remove the gel polish on acrylic nails. And then I use this one, which I use to file the acrylic. And then I use a sanding band, which I use to remove the shine from the natural nail. So those are the only three that I ever use. This one's a fine drill bit. Like I said, I only use a fine drill bit. I use a coarse one to remove the gel polish from acrylics. And then I use a sanding band to remove the shine from the natural nail. Those are the only three that I use. Okay, so now I'm going to go in with a buffer, and I'm just going to buff the nails, and this is just to make sure that the nail is nice and smooth. And then I also like to buff the bottom of the nail to make sure that I get any acrylic that's stuck under there off. And I always feel on the nail before I move on to the next one. I always feel on the nail to make sure that I don't feel any bumps or anything, because if you leave it like that, you will be able to see those bumps through your polish. Oh, remember I asked you for the name of your job? My boyfriend's mom just texted me and said that she applied. So she was asking either for your name or for you to basically put in a word for her.
Okay. Okay.
And her name is Whitney Ashton.
Okay.
And I can text it to you.
Oh, yeah. Do that. Okay.
I'll read the message once we're done, because she sent a lot.
Okay.
Okay, so once I'm done buffing, I'm just going to dust them off. And then I'm going to go in with a little alcohol wipe. And these are just regular alcohol wipes. You can find them anywhere. And I'm just going to wipe her nails off. Or you could have your client go wash their hands. But I just like to wipe them off with alcohol because it's just faster. Okay, so we are going to be doing an ombre effect. So, are those same colors good?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so for the ombre, I'm going to be using 3 D&D colors. That's Sun of Pink, Summer Sun, and White Islander. And then I'm using a simple color in the color Savage. And then I'm also using this light pink Essie color. So I'm going to go ahead and do one coat of the Essie color. And like I said, it is just a really sheared pink. And I'm just using that as a base. You could use a white if you want your colors to just be super, super bright. Or if not, you can just use something light. And the reason why I use it is because basically it just helps the color stick to the nail easier than if you want to use a base. Now you don't have to use a base, but I like to. I just feel like it helps.
Do you have super glue?
For what?
My flop. That's sparkle. Look at this. No wonder I kept tripping.
Girl, no, you need to throw them things away. It's not even worth putting some super glue on there.
Use some super glue.
I don't got no super glue.
Hmm?
Not no super glue for no shoe.
I'm just gonna put a little bit. It's not a shoe. Flop. Now we're up poquito.
Girl, I barely have any left.
Yeah.
Go in my closet and it's some in there.
My gosh, shoes.
Oh yeah, the other day Sugar grabbed one of my nail glues and he bit it. So he still has glue. I don't know that it got in his mouth. But it was like on his leg and on his stomach.
Oh my goodness.
Where is it?
It's like in a white bag.
Sugar booger be everywhere.
Right here?
Let me see. Yeah. We're not, whenever I clean the nails with the,
Obviously, you
girl,
can't help me.
I'm doing a live video. Whenever I'm applying, or whenever I clean the nails off with alcohol, I'm not getting it on the, like, I'm not wiping the skin off with it. I'm just wiping the nails off. Just to get the dust off. Okay, so these are the makeup wedge punches that I use. Like I said, they are from Dollar General and the bag looks like this. I've used other ones and I feel like these so far are the best ones. A lot of other ones, they suck up the polish a lot, and this ones are just perfect. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and apply the polishes on the sponge. I'm doing the yellow first. Then I'm going to do the orange, pink, and then the blue on the tip. I posted the link to the website where they have the D&D polishes. Like I said, I get my polishes from my local nail supply store, but I found a website. It's called, what is it called? Beyond Polish, I think. It's in my community. I posted something earlier today. So as you can tell, the colors start to fade off the brush or off the sponge fast. So just add more polish to it and just keep doing the same thing. And don't worry about it getting on the skin because you can just wipe it off with acetone. And make sure you turn their fingers over to the side to make sure that you get polish on the whole nail, especially around that cuticle area. So we're doing the same thing on all the nails. We're doing this ombre effect. Remember, make sure you get that polish all around that cuticle area and the sides and even the free edge. And then I'm going to go back and do the same thing. So remember, you want to do this, like go ahead and do 2 coats on both hands. That way by the time you start the second hand, the first one is already drying. So now I'm gonna get a little dapping dish, fill it up with some acetone, and then I'm just using a gel brush by OPI to clean the cuticle area. And when I'm doing this, I'm not just like flooding the cuticle area with acetone. I dip my brush into the acetone, then I wipe it off before I clean around. And you do want to make sure you clean around that cuticle area before you go back to the other hand, because it will dry up and it's going to be harder to wipe off. Yes, I mean, if you want to use the latex, that's fine, but I feel like it's more work because first you have to go and apply the latex around the cuticle area, and then you have to come back and take it off. And with this, all you have to do is just go back and clean around it. So you're going to do the same thing on the other hand again. Somebody just said, how do you get the nails to look so smooth? You do have to make sure that you file. If you have any bumps in your nails, you do want to make sure that you file and buff that away before you start your acrylic application. And the way to even see if you have bumps, I mean, you'll be able to tell, but feel on the nail and make sure that it's nice and smooth, and then just look at it from different angles. So you really don't even want to start your polish application until your nails are nice and smooth, because you will be able to see every little bump and lump when you apply your polish. No, I haven't done any full sets using the poly gel yet. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put these up. Once again, that was Son of Pink by D&D, and they are regular polishes, all of them. This is Sinful in the color Savage, Summer Sun by D&D, and then NY Islander. And like I said, I'll leave the link in the description to that website I found that has the D&D polishes for $7.50 for the set. So now, of course, we're going to add some bling. And I'm going to be using my Mia Secret Gel Resin, and it is a glue. And no, you do not have to cure it, because those are the questions that I always get. We're just going to be applying some around the cuticle area. And I'm using my SS6 and my SS12. The SS6 are the small ones, and then the 12s are the bigger ones. Sugar, stop.
Sugar be over. What's wrong, Sugar Booker?
My sister was talking about she was going to buy her a dog and name him Salt.
That's funny. No, man. I had to put on my rhinestones. I had to get my toes polished. Okay.
Hey.
She said, hey, Mama. Okay. Huh? She told you? Tell you? What?
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and apply the Mia Secret Gel Resin Activator, and it helps that glue dry. And then I'm going to go ahead and do the IBD gel top coat, and this is the same top coat that I always use. And remember, when you're doing a gel top coat over a regular polish, you do want to make sure that they are completely dry. As you can see, I didn't use a fan or anything. That's why I say usually my regular polish dries pretty fast, because I don't apply it super thick. Okay. So we're gonna cure that for 60 seconds. And we're gonna do the same thing on the other hand. Once again, I'm using my Secret Gel Resin. And I'm using my SS6, my SS12, and my wax pencil. Hi, girl.
Hi, sugar. Sugar. Hadn't seen like a month because your mom been gone. Hey, sugar. Hey.
Mom eruption?
Hmm?
Mom gone?
Yeah. She got. You just wait, cause honey. Hey, sugar. Oh my God. I miss his little face.
Sure.
Huh. Those are beautiful.
Thank you.
Hello. Okay. Okay. I know. I didn't think about it. Just ooh, chat, the ghetto. Well, you know I got cash. Okay. Whatever on sale. I like cheap stuff.
Shit, where they going?
No, yeah, they want to get you
So I just paid my Toto. Cause neck
for. No, some Ritz. I like Ritz.
Okay.
Yes. Sugar.
Jay, this one look like a sunset-ish thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I'm just gonna apply the clear pineapple cuticle oil on her cuticles.
Come when you get there. I don't know, let me do something. Yeah, I'm gonna come in and see. Okay. About to. Yeah. Okay. I am.
The cuticle oil is from my website, and I'll have it on there again whenever I restock. Ah, you're fine.
I just have to say sugar. I need some. If I see sugar, that means I'm about to be blessed. My life is about to be blessed. My health. Oh. Hey,
Okay, so that is the final look. They turned out really pretty. So we did the ombre effect with the makeup wet sponge, and we used the yellow, orange, pink, and blue, and then we added some bling on them. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Follow me on Facebook and Instagram at GetNailed32, and I'll see you guys later. And I am saving this video.